You think owning a farmhouse with land in Virginia is only for trust fund babies or politicians cashing out? Think again. What if I told you there's a historic 1913 farmhouse sitting on over 2 acres in Virginia right now for just $150,000? That is 3,000 square feet with soaring ceilings and original woodwork for less than a studio apartment in Arlington. No, seriously. We are talking properties under $200,000, some under $100,000, and one that costs less than most people's annual car payment. But here's what nobody tells you. These deals exist because most people are too scared to leave Nova, too comfortable scrolling Zillow for overpriced townhomes in Fairfax, or they simply don't know where to look. Meanwhile, entire towns in rural Virginia are practically begging for new residents. Real houses, real acreage, real opportunities that could change your life if you're bold enough to take them. Today, I'm breaking down 10 dirt cheap farmhouses with land that actually exist right now. From properties pushing $184,000 down to one that costs less than a semester at UVA. I'm giving you the raw truth. The prices, the pros, the problems, and whether these deals are genius moves or total traps. If you've ever dreamed of owning land, escaping the DC rent cycle, or just having space where nobody's complaining about your music at 11 p.m., this video is for you. Hit that like button so the algorithm knows you're serious about this. Subscribe because we are just getting started. And buckle up. Let's find you a farmhouse. Property 1. Lottsburg, $184,000. Lottsburg, Virginia, where your neighbors are boats and your view is Kingscote Creek. $184,000 for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath farmhouse on 0.27 acres. Built in 1904, so yeah, it's got over a century of stories baked into the walls. You're getting 1,678 square feet of classic farmhouse charm. Metal roof that's actually done its job, front porch corbels that scream character, and woodwork throughout that modern builds can't replicate. Here's the kicker. This place sits in Louisetta, a close-knit waterfront community where you're literally within walking distance of Louisetta Marina. Boat ramp access, views of the Potomac River, and the kind of coastal breeze that makes you forget traffic exists. Picture this. You wake up, step outside with your coffee, and watch the sunrise over the Potomac. No sirens, no honking, just water lapping against the shore and maybe a heron deciding your dock looks interesting. The house needs some updates. The listing says it's been loved for many years and could benefit from TLC, which is real to speak for bring a budget and a vision. You're not moving into HGTV. You're moving into potential. Here's the real talk. Lottsburg sits in Northumberland County with a population around 2,200. This isn't Nova. This is rural Virginia where people actually wave at strangers. Median household income here is roughly $48,000 a year. Jobs are limited. Most people commute to bigger towns, run small businesses, or work remotely. If you need a corporate office job, you're driving. The property was originally listed at $229,000. It's dropped to $184,000. That's a $45,000 price cut. Either the sellers are motivated, or the market knows something you should ask about. Annual property taxes? $669. That's $55 a month. You probably spend more on streaming services. Crime is low. This is the kind of place where people still leave their doors unlocked and regret it when neighbors walk in unannounced. The nearest real hospital is in Heathsville, about 6 miles away. For anything serious, you're heading to larger towns. Shopping, dining, entertainment? You'll drive. But that's the trade-off. Lottsburg isn't trying to be trendy. It's not growing fast. It's just steady, quiet, and deeply connected to the water. For $184,000, you get waterfront-adjacent living, a house with character, and a lifestyle most people only dream about when they're stuck in beltway traffic. Just know you're buying into isolation, limited amenities, and a community where the 4th of July parade is the social event of the year. Would you trade city convenience for sunrise views over Kingscote Creek and property taxes under $700 a year? Comment below. And if you think Lottsburg is peaceful, wait till you see what $165,000 gets you next. Property 2. Hillsville, $165,000. Hillsville, Virginia. The cutest little farmhouse you ever did see, surrounded by blooms and sitting less than 10 minutes from town. $165,000 for 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, and 1,102 square feet on 0.8 acres. Built in 1954, so it's got that mid-century farmhouse vibe without falling apart. This place has character. Durable metal roof, gas log fireplace for those cold mountain nights, and here's the best part. The property is surrounded by flowers that burst into color every spring. We're talking a legit floral explosion that makes your Instagram feed look boring. Inside, you get exactly what you'd expect from a classic farmhouse. Cozy, warm, and simple. No unnecessary drama, just functional country living. The yard is spacious. Room for gardening, outdoor activities, maybe a chicken coop if you're feeling ambitious. Or just leave it as is and enjoy not having neighbors breathing down your neck. Now, the real talk. Hillsville sits in Carroll County with a population around 2,700. It's a small town with actual infrastructure. You're not stranded in the wilderness. This property was originally listed at $173,000. It dropped to $165,000 on December 2nd. That's an $8,000 price cut. Not massive, but enough to know the seller wants to move. Annual property taxes? $562. That's $46 a month. Less than your phone bill. Hillsville is about 3 miles from Interstate 77, so you're connected. Galax is nearby for shopping and dining. You're 90 minutes from Roanoke if you need a city fix. Median household income here runs around $40,000 to $45,000. This is working-class rural Virginia. Jobs exist, but they're mostly in manufacturing, education, and healthcare. Remote work is your best friend. Crime is low. This is family-oriented, safe small-town living. The kind of place where high school football games are sold out and everyone knows the local gossip by Tuesday. Weather. Mountain Virginia gets cold. Winters bring snow. If you hate scraping ice off your windshield, factor that in. The catch. This is simple, easy country living. If you need constant stimulation, nightlife, or same-day Amazon delivery, this will test your patience. But if you want a charming farmhouse surrounded by flowers, space to breathe, and a town that actually functions, this is solid. For $165,000, you're getting under 10 minutes from amenities, property taxes that cost less than dinner out, and a house ready to welcome you home. Would you live 10 minutes outside a small mountain town if it meant owning 0.8 acres surrounded by blooms for under $170K? Drop your answer. And if $165,000 feels like a deal, buckle up. The next property is a 3,000 square foot historic farmhouse for $150,000. Property 3, Courtland, $150,000. Courtland, Virginia, where history meets opportunity and your renovation skills decide everything. $150,000 for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath farmhouse on 2.42 acres. Built in 1913, so we're talking over a century of character baked into every board. You're getting 3,036 square feet. Yeah, you read that right. That's bigger than most modern suburban homes, and you're paying $49 per square foot. In most states, that buys you a parking spot. This house has soaring high ceilings, beautiful original woodwork, and an inviting front porch that screams lazy Sunday afternoons. 2 fireplaces, wood burning, the kind that actually heat a room instead of just looking pretty. Here's the twist. This is being sold strictly as is. The listing calls it a diamond in the rough and says it awaits your vision. Translation: bring your contractor, your budget, and realistic expectations. You're not moving into a Pinterest board. You're moving into a project. The roof has already been replaced. That's huge. One less major expense off your plate. Now, let's talk Courtland. Courtland sits in Southampton County with a population around 1,200. This is small-town Virginia where people know each other's business and the general store is still a thing. Median household income here runs about $42,000 a year. Jobs are limited. Most people commute to Franklin, 12 miles, Suffolk, 25 miles, or even Virginia Beach if they're dedicated. The property taxes are $1,354 a year. That's $112 a month. Still way cheaper than rent anywhere near a city. Crime is slightly above rural Virginia averages, mostly property stuff. It's not dangerous, just normal small-town America. The schools: Riverdale Elementary, Southampton Middle, and Southampton High. Ratings are mixed, 3 to 6 out of 10. So if you've got kids, research carefully. The real catch: you're buying a fixer-upper. This isn't a cosmetic update situation. This is bring a vision and accrue territory. If you're not handy or you can't afford renovations on top of the purchase price, this could eat you alive. But here's the opportunity. You're getting 2.42 acres, 3,036 square feet, and a house with bones that modern builds can't replicate, all for $150,000. Courtland isn't flashy. It's not trendy. But for someone who sees potential instead of problems, this could be the deal of a lifetime. Picture this. You finish the renovations. You step onto that front porch with your morning coffee. The sun's coming up over your 2.42 acres. There's no traffic, no chaos, just birds and space and the kind of peace most people only dream about. Would you take on a 1913 fixer-upper if it meant owning 3,000 square feet on over 2 acres for $150,000? Comment your thoughts. And if you thought Courtland was a project, wait till you see what $149,000 gets you in the mountains. Property 4, Covington, $149,000. Covington, Virginia, where an 1860 farmhouse meets mountain living and your renovation budget decides everything. $149,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath farmhouse on 1 acre. Built in 1860, so we are talking Civil War era construction that's somehow still standing. You're getting 2,460 square feet of character-filled space, spacious bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, and the kind of original details that make modern builds look generic. The property includes a detached 2-car garage with a loft, workshop, studio, extra storage, whatever you need. That loft alone could be an office, art space, or the man cave you've always wanted. Outside, there's mountain views, sunrise, sunset, the whole deal. You're minutes from George Washington National Forest, the Jackson River, and Lake Moore. If you're into hiking, fishing, kayaking, or just existing in nature, this location delivers. Here's the real talk. This house needs work. The listing says it requires some renovation to bring out its full charm. Translation: bring your contractor, your budget, and a realistic timeline. You're not moving in next week. But here's what works. The bones are solid. The location is stunning. And at $149,000, you've got room in your budget to actually renovate. This property was originally listed at $159,000. It dropped $10,000 on December 29th. Someone wants to move, and that's your opportunity. Annual property taxes? $601. That's $50 a month. Less than your gym membership you never use. Now, let's talk Covington. Covington sits in Allegheny County with a population around 5,600. It's a small city with actual infrastructure. You're not completely isolated. Median household income here runs about $38,000 to $42,000. This is working-class mountain Virginia. Jobs exist in manufacturing, healthcare, and education, but remote work is your safest bet. The schools: Callahan Elementary, 9/10 rating, actually excellent; Clifton Middle, 1/10, yikes; and Allegheny High, 3/10. If you've got kids, that middle school rating is a red flag. Research carefully. Crime is low. This is safe, quiet small-town living. Weather: Mountain Virginia gets cold and snowy. Winters are real. If you hate cold, factor that in. The trade-off: you're buying a renovation project in a small mountain town. If you need instant gratification, city amenities, or you're not handy, this will test you. But if you can handle a project, you're getting 2,460 square feet of historic farmhouse, 1 acre with mountain views, a detached garage with a loft, minutes from national forest and water access, property taxes under $700 a year, for $149,000. Picture this. You finish the renovations. You step outside in the morning. The sun's rising over the mountains. There's a mist hanging over the Jackson River in the distance. And it's yours. Would you renovate an 1860 farmhouse if it meant owning 2,460 square feet with mountain views for under $150,000? Let me know. And if you thought $149,000 was cheap, wait till you see what comes next. Property 5, Vansant, $135,000. Vansant, Virginia. Population around 350. This isn't a town, it's a gathering. $135,000 for a property on Hurricane Creek Road. And yeah, that name should tell you something about the weather. This area sits deep in Buchanan County, coal country, Appalachia. The kind of place where people have lived for generations and outsiders are still called outsiders even after 10 years. The property details are limited, but at $135,000, you're looking at rural land with a structure. Likely older, likely needs work, likely comes with stories the listing won't tell you. Here's the real talk. Vancent is remote. We are talking 90 minutes from Roanoke, over 2 hours from any major city. You're not popping out for Target runs. Median household income in Buchanan County runs around $30,000 to $35,000. This is one of the poorest counties in Virginia. Jobs are scarce. Coal mining used to be the backbone here, but that's faded. Crime rates are slightly elevated, mostly tied to economic struggles. Opioid crisis has hit this area hard. It's not dangerous, but it's real. The schools, ratings are low. If you've got kids, research deeply. Why would anyone buy here? If you're remote, retired, or just want to disappear into the mountains, this could work. The land is cheap. The cost of living is dirt low. And the natural beauty is stunning. But you're trading everything for that. No amenities, no job market, no safety net. For $135,000, you're getting isolation, acreage, and Appalachian mountain living. Just know exactly what you're signing up for. Would you move to a town of 350 people deep in coal country if it meant owning land for $135,000? Be honest. And if Vancent feels too remote, let's swing back to something more accessible. Property 6. Martinsville, $115,000. Martinsville, Virginia. A city that's seen better days but is slowly finding its footing. $115,000 for a property in a town that used to thrive on furniture and textiles and is now figuring out what's next. Martinsville sits in Henry County with a population around 12,600. It's an actual city with infrastructure, hospitals, schools, and shopping. The property, at $115,000, you're likely getting an older home that needs updates. The city has plenty of affordable housing because the economy has been struggling for decades. Here's the reality. Martinsville's median household income is around $32,000 to $35,000. Poverty rates are high. Unemployment has been a long-term issue. But here's what's changing. The city is investing in revitalization. New businesses are moving in. There's momentum, even if it's slow. Why buy here? If you're remote, if you're an investor looking for rental property, or if you believe in long-term community turnaround, this could work. You're getting city amenities for rural prices. Schools, hospitals, grocery stores, all within reach. Crime is higher than rural Virginia, but it's declining. The city has been working on community programs and it's showing results. For $115,000, you're betting on a city that's trying to reinvent itself. It's risky, but the upside could be real. Would you buy in a struggling city if you believed in its potential and the price was right? Let me know. Property 7. Jetersville, $100,000. Jetersville, Virginia. Where rural Virginia meets affordability and you better love peace and quiet. $100,000 for a farmhouse on Farmers Lane. Yeah, the street name tells you everything. Jetersville sits in Amelia County with a population around 300. This is tiny, rural, old Virginia. At $100,000, you're getting an older home on land. Likely needs work. Likely comes with septic, well water, and the kind of maintenance city people don't think about. But here's what works. You're 45 minutes from Richmond. Close enough for hospital visits and airport access. Far enough that you're not dealing with city chaos. Amelia County is quiet, safe, and affordable. Median home prices run around $200,000 to $250,000, so at $100,000, you're buying in at the bottom. The trade-off: jobs are non-existent locally. You're commuting or remote. Shopping means driving. Entertainment means creating your own. But for $100,000, you're getting land, space, and proximity to Richmond without Richmond prices. Would you live in a town of 300 if it meant owning a farmhouse for $100,000 and being less than an hour from Richmond? Comment your take. Property 8. Pulaski, $85,000. Pulaski, Virginia. $85,000 for a property that's probably seen better days but comes with serious affordability. Pulaski sits in Pulaski County with a population around 8,700. It's a small town with infrastructure that's been struggling economically for years. Median household income runs about $37,000. Jobs exist in manufacturing, healthcare, and education, but options are limited. At $85,000, you're getting an older property that needs work. But you're also getting a town with schools, hospitals, shopping, and Interstate 81 access. The catch: economic decline has hit hard. Poverty rates are high. Crime is above state averages. The opportunity: if you're remote, if you're handy, if you're willing to bet on a town finding its way, this could work. For $85,000, you're getting space for less than most people's down payment. Would you buy in a struggling town for $85,000 if the bones were solid and you believed in the location? Let me know. Property 9, LA Cross, $60,000. La Crosse, Virginia, $60,000 for a property in a town so small it barely registers on maps. La Crosse sits in Mecklenburg County with a population around 650. This is deep rural Virginia. At $60,000, you're getting an older structure that likely needs serious work. But you're also getting a price point that's almost unheard of. The reality: jobs don't exist locally. You're remote or commuting long distances. Amenities are minimal. You're driving for everything. But if you want land, isolation, and affordability, this delivers. For $60,000, you're buying into extreme rural living. Just know what that means. Would you move to a town of 650 for a $60,000 property if it meant total isolation and self-sufficiency? Be real in the comments. Property 10, Cleveland, $39,000. Cleveland, Virginia, $39,000. Yeah, you read that right. Cleveland sits in Russell County with a population around 150. This is as remote as Virginia gets. At $39,000, you're getting land with a structure. Likely needs everything. Likely comes with challenges city people can't imagine. But here's the deal. For the price of a used car, you're getting property, land, space, ownership. The catch: you're hours from civilization. Jobs don't exist. Amenities are non-existent. You're 100% on your own. But if you want to disappear, if you want land for almost nothing, if you want to build something from scratch, this is it. For $39,000, you're getting the ultimate gamble. Extreme isolation or ultimate freedom. You decide. Would you buy a $39,000 property in a town of 150 if it meant owning land outright? Final question, so there you have it. 10 farmhouses in Virginia ranging from $184,000 down to $39,000. Some are move-in ready. Some are projects. Some are gambles. But they're all real, they're all available, and they're all cheaper than a year of rent in most cities. The question is, are you bold enough to take the leap? If this video helped you see what's possible, hit that like button, subscribe for more hidden real estate gems, and drop a comment with which property surprised you most. Because while everyone's fighting over overpriced townhomes in Fairfax, these farmhouses are sitting here waiting. Let's find you some land.